Imagine someone slides $3 billion in cold, hard cash across the table to you. It's not a buyout for some booming, highly profitable empire, but for an app making absolutely zero revenue. Zero. Would you take it? I mean, most of us would probably say yes before the briefcase even clicked shut. But the founders of Snapchat? They said no. Today, we're diving into this explainer of a wildly intense story of corporate warfare and looking at exactly how they managed to survive against all odds. $3 billion. Let that number just sink in for a second. That was the massive all-cash offer Mark Zuckerberg literally put on the table back in 2013 to buy Snapchat. And you have to remember, at this specific point in time, Snapchat had no proven business model, no major revenue stream to speak of, and honestly, plenty of loud skeptics calling it a total fad that would blow over in a month. So pose that mystery to yourself for a second. Why on earth would you turn down billions for an app with absolutely no revenue? And maybe more importantly, how do you even survive when a trillion-dollar giant like Facebook realizes they can't buy you and decides they're just going to crush you instead? I mean, with practically unlimited resources at their disposal, Goliath was ready for war. This right here is one of the ultimate David versus Goliath battles of the modern tech world.
Section 1. The Anti-Social Network, Redefining the Internet. Okay, so to understand how they fought back, we first got to understand what they actually built. Evan Spiegel and his co-founders took a dorm room idea and basically rejected everything the legacy internet stood for, which was permanence. It was a seriously rocky start, too. Their first working prototype was actually called Peekaboo, and it was widely dismissed. Investors practically laughed them out of pitch meetings, just assuming it was some sketchy app for sending inappropriate pictures. They had to wade through cease and desist letters over the name, brutal co-founder lawsuits, you name it. Endless rejection. But after rebranding to Snapchat and slapping on that wildly bright yellow ghost logo so it would pop in the App Store, something just clicked. Suddenly, the app saw this massive viral explosion among one very specific demographic, teenagers. And it makes total sense when you look at the stark contrast between these two worlds. Think about traditional social media at the time, like Facebook. It was becoming permanent, high pressure, and completely filled with perfect, filtered highlight reels. Not to mention, it was right around the time your parents and grandparents were suddenly logging on and sending you friend requests. But Snapchat? It was casual, it was authentic, and it was entirely ephemeral. Disappearing photos took the pressure completely off. You could send a goofy picture of your day without having this low-key panic that it would somehow ruin your professional life 10 years down the road. It was quite literally a masterclass in human psychology.
Section 2. The Clone Wars. Goliath makes a move. Now, when you suddenly capture the undivided attention of millions of teenagers, the titans of Silicon Valley are absolutely going to notice. And they didn't just see a quirky, ephemeral app. They saw a massive existential threat. Mark Zuckerberg actually invited Evan Spiegel to a meeting that, by all accounts, felt a lot more like a shakedown. He essentially revealed that Facebook was building an exact copycat app called Poke. The implication was super clear. Join us, or we crush you with our unlimited resources. And Spiegel's response to this? He walked out of that meeting and immediately ordered a copy of Sun Tzu's ancient military treatise, The Art of War, for every single Snapchat employee. He was getting ready for battle. Just take a look at the sheer, terrifying mismatch in firepower here. Back in 2012, Snapchat had daily users in the millions. Facebook? They boasted over 1 billion active users. So when Facebook launched their clone, Poke, they pushed a notification to their entire global user base all at once. Poke immediately rocketed to the top of the App Store. The Snapchat team was, understandably, panicked. Had they just made a fatal mistake by turning down that buyout? But then the absolute unexpected happened. Poke completely failed and quickly faded into total obscurity. Why? Because it was just a clone. It didn't bring anything new to the table. But more importantly, people loved Snapchat specifically because it was a closed-off, private ecosystem. Users actively did not want their casual, silly messaging connected to their highly permanent Facebook profiles. So, ironically, this brutal attack actually gave Snapchat massive free publicity and proved to the skeptical investors that the app couldn't just be easily replicated by a giant. But Goliath doesn't just pack up and go home after one missed swing. Their relentless strategy built up over time. Poke failed. Then they tried an app called Slingshot. That failed too. But eventually, Facebook realized something crucial. They didn't need to build a new app from scratch. They just needed to inject Snapchat's best features directly into the massive apps they already owned. And the launch of Instagram Stories, that was a devastatingly successful move.
Look at the data here to really put this into perspective. By the middle of 2017, Instagram Stories had rocketed to 250 million daily active users. That vastly outperformed Snapchat Stories, which was sitting at 166 million. The sheer overwhelming scale of Instagram's built-in network had finally cracked Snapchat's armor. Facebook had essentially brute forced their way to winning the daily user war for the Stories format.
Section 3. Surviving the crash. The existential crisis.
So the corporate warfare from Facebook was already taking a heavy toll, but mounting internal pressures nearly broke the company from the inside out. The scandals were compounding rapidly. First, you had a massive data breach that exposed the personal details of 4.6 million users. Yikes! Then came the launch of SnapMap, which sparked these terrifying privacy fears by broadcasting young users' exact GPS locations 24/7. Add to that the leaking of the CEO's highly controversial college frat emails, which severely damaged trust with corporate partners. And operationally, they were stuck with an extremely basic, really expensive ad platform with terrible analytics. That made big corporations super hesitant to take the platform seriously, even with its incredible reach with teens. The crucial takeaway here is just how vulnerable all of this made them. In 2018, reality struck hard. A single tweet from celebrity Kylie Jenner, literally just asking if anyone even opens Snapchat anymore, wiped out $1.3 billion in stock value in a flash. $1.3 billion. Gone. The media was seriously wondering if this was the beginning of the end for the Ghost.
Section 4. Reinventing the camera. The stealth hardware pioneer.
Now, this is exactly where the story pivots from a near collapse to a wild, entirely unexpected reinvention. They rebranded themselves to Snap Inc. and made this bold decision to stop fighting traditional social media battles based on focus groups, pivoting instead to deep, hardcore technological innovation. Unpacking this quote reveals a massive gamble. Snap is a camera company. Wait, what? Not a messaging app, not a social network, a camera company? Evan Spiegel believed that relying purely on data and focus groups wouldn't actually lead to big leaps in innovation. Instead, they took a huge risk, pivoted away from traditional metrics, and started building actual physical hardware. Their first move into this space was Snap Spectacles, and the steps to use them were super simple. You just tap a button on your sunglasses to record a video, it syncs wirelessly right to your app, and you view it in this really unique 115-degree circular format that's specifically designed to mimic actual human vision. At the time, a lot of people just dismissed it as a fun, gimmicky toy, or maybe a strange knockoff of Google Glass. But here's the secret. This was actually the stealthy groundwork for their true endgame.
And that endgame? It's augmented reality. AR is defined as integrating digital information with the user's physical environment in real time. For years, the whole world thought those silly dog ear filters and vomiting rainbows were just a teenage novelty. But in reality, they were a brilliant Trojan horse. Snap was quietly using its massive user base to test, iterate, and master world-altering AR technology. Seriously, look at the infrastructure they are quietly building today. We're talking persistent, shared AR worlds where you and your friends can creatively collaborate in an overlay right on top of physical reality. Virtual clothing try-ons that major brands are already deploying. Wearable, daily AR glasses that don't just record video but actually project a completely new digital dimension right into your daily life. They are making incredibly deep investments in machine learning and AI. They are so far beyond just being a messaging app for kids, they are actively building the foundational technology for the next major leap in computing. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. Will the app that got famous for disappearing temporary photos actually be the one to fundamentally rewrite our permanent reality? I mean, it's entirely possible these wild hardware experiments fail, but it's also highly possible that Snap is just quietly changing the battlefield altogether. The biggest thing you should take away from this is that in the war for the future of tech, the ultimate winner isn't always the biggest giant in the room.